All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. This is the NBA Tournament Strategy Show, where on this show, we go over last night's slate, see what went well, what might not have gone as well. And then we look at this solid two-gamer we have on deck. I think these two gamers are good practice for the playoffs. So I know a lot of people hate them, but I like them because it helps you kind of get in the right mindset for playoff NBA basketball. It's also opening day for MLB, so I know a lot of people will be focusing on that instead. So, take what you can. But yeah, we will brainstorm this slate, look at some guys that might be a little underowned, things of that sort. And then on the pre-lock show, we'll have actual leverage plays, we'll have core plays. We'll talk about how to utilize the domination station on a two-gamer because I do things a little bit differently than the way I normally do. And yeah, we'll go from there. But let's jump right into last night's slate. This is a DFS Army member, 214. Crushed it, took down the mini max last night. Nice $1,400 win off of $170 in. Nice return on investment from that perspective. And for those of you that don't know, the mini max is a tough contest. I've won the 100K contest a couple of times, and I've won like the mini max twice, and I will always live by like the mini max is definitely the tougher contest just because of the sheer size of people in it more often than not. He also did great in the 20 max too, so congrats to you, man. I don't have the winning lineup from last night, like I said, so we can't really review that. But a lot of things, I was not feeling great last night for the vast majority of the night. It did end up being positive for me, but I was not a happy camper until like 11:30. And then things start to turn around, and I was like, okay, it's going to be profitable. It would have been a much better night if I had more Giannis. I was around field weight exposure on Drew because we forced them in on him. And I was probably like 10% under the field on Giannis. So it would have been a really good night if I was over the field. But, being positive, you can never complain about. B-Dubs, good to see you. Agreed. The mini-max does not get enough respect. Maybe one day, but we'll see. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right into this first game. We have the Celtics against the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is a spot where I care about the injury news a lot. We don't have a lot of injury news on this slate, so every little piece of potential injury news we get, I'm probably going to overreact to, and that's because of the small slate and the limited news we have. I think everything's going to be much more impactful just because of the way the slate's breaking out. So Robert Williams is currently listed as questionable. We also have Grant Williams listed as questionable. If either one of them end up being out, that makes guys like Smart, really Smart is really the guy out, be open to being above field weight exposure on. Al Horford becomes more viable. If Williams is out, honestly, that probably would be if Grant Williams is out, that would probably be one of the more disappointing things for me because he's a less impactful player, but I'm hoping Williams misses just to spice things up a little bit. With that being said, though, this matchup against the Bucks, typically not a team we like to pick on, but again, it's a two-game slate, and so we're seeing decent ownership on all of the starters here. Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Brogdon, Smart, Horford. Smart, as of right now, is the guy that I know I want to be at least around field weight exposure on, potentially a guy I want to make sure I'm over the field on. For me, on these smaller slates, I tinker a bit less. I trust the domination station a bit more, but I kind of live by a rule of thought of like, hey, it's usually too high on someone and it's usually too low on someone. So when I do my initial runs before the pre-lock show, I kind of try and figure out, hey, who do I like that's not showing up enough? And who do I not like who's showing up too much? So we'll kind of dig a little bit deeper to that on the pre-lock show, which again is at 5:30 p.m. Eastern today. It's for VIP members only. But for now, we just kind of have to like theorize it. But Smart's one of those guys I know for sure I want to see show up. The matchup's not great, but he's been playing plenty of minutes. I like his upside. The sim model likes Smart a good bit tonight as well. Look at the 5,300 range. There's really no one that it likes more than him, which means that he's going to be a guy that I'm going to be over the field on. Brogdon and White, I'm not super excited about unless like Robert Williams and Grant Williams both end up being out. Jaylen Brown's been in good form. I plan on having exposure to him, but honestly, I don't really plan on at least as of right now, I don't plan on forcing myself to be over the field on him because he's not significantly under-owned or anything like that. Tatum's a stud. It's a small slate. You need some exposure to him, but depending on what happens with Jokic tonight, I don't plan on being over the field on Tatum because a lot of that will go to Jokic. But if Jokic ends up being out, everyone's going to start to have more exposure to Tatum and Giannis and the studs from the Pelicans. So just kind of wait and see how news breaks out from that perspective. For the Bucks, they're healthy, man. Chris Middleton was out last night, really helped Jrue have a really good game, really helped Giannis have a good game. This is a back-to-back for them. Would selfishly love if they sat some guys out for that reason. But this is a pretty good spot for, this is a pretty big game for them. So I wouldn't be shocked if everyone plays, but selfishly would love some value from this game. With that being said, just like the Bucks, I don't like to pick on the Celtics too often. They're a solid defense these days. The thing that's kind of drawing me to the Bucks is that they are one of the lower owned options on the slate. Like it looks like Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday, Bobby Portis are all going to be pretty low owned. Chris Middleton, I'm not super excited about it, 8,800, but I'm open to taking a shot on Jrue Holiday and Bobby Portis. The sim model doesn't really love Jrue Holiday, as you can see, 0 in the 8x column. It also doesn't love Bobby Portis, as you can see, 0 in the 8x column. So they're low owned for good reason. I'm just willing to take a shot on them if we don't get any more injury news. Like, because we are kind of desperate for low ownership on these kind of slates, I like to try and force a little bit of exposure to these low owned guys if I'm not getting exposure to them naturally. And it's a little bit easier to do on a small slate. Like getting 20% Jrue Holiday shouldn't ruin my night if he doesn't come through for me. And vice versa with Bobby Portis. Like 10% min on him shouldn't ruin my night if he doesn't come through. But no one else will have him. So it will really kind of give my lines a little bit of an edge because of the ownership leverage there. On these small slates, I just really value low ownership over anything else, like even a really good matchup, because I don't want to tie up everybody. That's just my style of playing. If you're fine tying with people, then go ahead and play all the chalky guys. That's totally cool. Viable strategy, just not my style. For the Pelicans, again, very healthy team, which makes them not as fun to play. I'm kind of surprised CJ McCollum is so popular because he's been in not so great form lately. He just really has not been that guy over the last few games. Unfortunately, the issue is that this is still a good spot for him. Matchup against the Nuggets isn't one that I'm afraid of. He's projecting well. He's still pretty cheap at 7,500. A lot of things make sense. So it'd be tough for me to fade him here, but I was hoping that he was going to be lower owned and we could be over the field on him because I did like the spot. The sim model likes him a good bit too, so not really trying to fade him. Joval, I like a lot more if Nikola Jokic ends up missing this game. I think the matchup is much softer for him in that case. I'll definitely still have exposure to him even if Jokic plays, but I just like him better if Jokic ends up being out. Just a softer matchup. I think that makes sense. Brandon Ingram has been fantastic lately. You know, I don't think I need to talk about that too much. He has decent ownership. The silver lining and good thing about these two games is that they both have a pretty close spread. So hopefully we don't have to worry about blowout run too much, and we can kind of trust the studs to do what they're supposed to do here. So Ingram's one of those guys for me tonight that I plan on having exposure to. Trey Murphy seeing decent ownership. I like that. Herbert Jones, not as much of a fan of for 28% exposure. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into him to make sure I'm comfortable kind of being a little bit under the field on him. But as of right now, he's like the chalky play that I'm just not as excited about as everyone else is. I'm sure the sim model will tell me I'm being an idiot. Yeah, sim model does like him a little bit, has a 1% chance of hitting 8x value. Likes guys like Horford, Bruce Brown, and KCP more, and I do too. I agree with that. So again, like I'm not taking Herb Jones out of my player pool. He's just not the guy I'm trying to be over the field on tonight. What's up, Thomas? Happy MLB opening day. Yeah, man, it's gonna be wild. It's always fun seeing like everyone get really excited about MLB. I love MLB too, but I usually don't play until the NBA season ends. But it's funny when people are like, MLB is less volatile. I'm like, oh, buddy, you're in for a ride. You are in for a ride. But I love MLB though. It's good stuff. We also have some really good coaches here at DFS Army for baseball, so definitely recommend checking out the Discord, checking out the cheat sheet. We have a lot of good stuff up there. So big recommendation to do that. Josh Richardson, again, with this team healthy, we kind of need the value at this point on the slate. So again, like I'm not upset about having him in my lines, but not really a fan of it. Najee Marshall makes sense to me. Less of a fan of Larry Nance Jr. and Dyson Daniels. On these weird 2-game slates, I don't X guys out of my player pool because we see it all the time where some weird random no name does just enough to allow you to fit in multiple studs. And so that's why I keep guys like Dyson Daniel, Najee Marshall in my player pool, whereas I know some people take them out on short slates to really just kind of like thin their player pool. But for me, I kind of do the opposite. I want like weird combinations. I use randomization on these small slates. I want weird, unique combinations that other people aren't going to have. So you have to kind of just get comfortable with playing some really gross names tonight because you're probably going to need to if you're paying up for some of these studs. With that being said, what's really going to make or break this slate for me from like an excitement level is Nikola Jokic. Jokic, I feel like rarely ever misses a game, but I'm really hoping tonight is the night he misses a game. He's currently listed as questionable. Kanker is also listed as questionable. Peyton Watson's also listed as questionable, and then Jack White's been out. If Jokic is out, this slate becomes 10 times more interesting. We can even look at playing guys like Zeke Naji. We can even look at playing guys like Thomas Bryant would even be a bit more viable on this slate. And then outside of that, the clear and obvious plays would be guys like Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. Murray sees the highest increasing usage, so he's the guy I would really, really prioritize here. And then we have Bruce Brown being another guy who sees the next highest increasing usage. Then comes KCP, and then we have Aaron Gordon. All guys I plan on forcing exposure to. Ideally, Michael Porter Jr. would kind of be the guy that's forgotten about, and I would make sure I'm well over the field on him as well. But love this game, and having that extra value would allow me to have more exposure to Brandon Ingram, have more exposure to CJ McCollum, have more exposure to Giannis, have more exposure to Tatum. So I'm really hoping we get some of that value so I can play the way I want to play. If not, it's just going to be a little bit of a tougher night where I just have to prioritize my plays, which we'll have on the pre-lock show. So like I said, please don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Really appreciate your support. And on the pre-lock show, we'll make sure we're ready to go for this interesting 2-game slate. So have a good one, guys. Peace out. I'll see y'all later. Stay safe.